Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls, to Decan 3 of Gemini. And this is being recorded during the new moon in Gemini 2026 on the 14th day of June. We are already a few degrees into this decan, and I decided to wait until the energy of the new moon, and I felt that I would have some energetic support as I spoke about these cards. And I feel that the energy of the 10 of Swords decan really benefits from the surge, from the well wishes, if you will, of the new moon. And so, once again, new moon blessings. And the energy of the new moon is represented both in the tarot of Lisa de Saint Croix, as well as in one of the decks we looked at last time, which is Le Tarot au Remords Étrange. And I will speak to both of these decks today, as well as Tarot of the She, a favorite 10 of Swords card. And also, I will link a card up above for more information about my favorite 10 of Swords cards. And this is part of a larger series where I did 56 videos on my favorite minor arcana. So where are we and where have we come from? From the 8 of Swords, a decan inviting expansion and change, to the 9 of Swords, a decan further demanding and unrelentingly so inviting us to continue this expansion, widening perspective, and awakening to all that we are ready to move through. When I pulled out this deck today and was gazing at the Tower card, it reminded me that I never did my video on the Destroyer archetype. Since I did the video on Kim Kranz's archetype deck, and perhaps it has come up in other videos as well too, there have been many comments about the Destroyer archetype, the series of Creator, Sustainer, and Destroyer. And this would be a perfect card to continue that discussion. And so I'm going to keep this out, and I promise I will make that video, pull out the archetype deck again, and dive a little more deeply into how these archetypes fit into the story of the tarot. And then in 2021 degrees of Gemini, we find ourselves in the energy of the 10 of Swords, a place of surrender, change, and a powerful awakening to our vital life force. If you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Sadhana, and this is just my absolute pleasure to share reflections such as this with you. And I hope that should you have questions or comments, you will leave something below for me to respond to, and I'm very happy to do that in brief or at great length, whatever it is that you need. In this third decan of Gemini, we have left the energy of the Knight of Swords and move into the energy of the Queen of Cups that takes us through the 10 of Swords, the 2 and the 3 of Cups in Cancer. The first decan of any court card may present challenges. It may be the more difficult decan that the court finds themselves in. I find that queens are very well equipped to deal with the energy of the tens, that there is a tremendous amount of strength in the energy of the queens to hold space for the challenges that all of the minor tens present. We find ourselves in a space that, in other circumstances, the energy of the 10 may be impossible to navigate. But with that energy of the queens, and their presence, and I suppose they're always there underlying the energy of the tens. This kind of experience, in some way, we feel held through this experience. We feel supported and nurtured, and we know that we are not alone moving through this change. In the Nine of Swords, we have fallen. We have allowed the fall to happen. And we find ourselves in a place of rebirth. Maybe not quite there yet, but there is nothing to be done other than surrender to the moment. It's a place where the energy of the ego begins to fade into the background, and we truly sense that allowing spirit to step forward is going to be in our highest. This decan is ruled by the sun. Solar decans are optimistic. They turn in our favor. They energize. They provide optimism and internal life force energy when we may be feeling rather depleted or diminished in some way. The sun connects us to the space of the heart, to Tiferet, to a place of calm. And I think that processing the energy of the Ten of Swords through the lens of Tiferet makes all of the grief, the sadness, the confusion, whatever it is that arose for you through the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords, just to be a little bit more manageable. You've come to some understanding that you do have the power to step beyond, and that there is a greater energy, there is something beyond this material world that is awakening to you. You are sensing subtle energies of air and just energy in general. This connection of heart and throat and mind begins to vibrate in a way that leaves you curious and wants to find space, between the thoughts, wants to find peace between the busyness of life. In the Tarot of the She, we move from the Dreamer Prince to the Dancer Queen in this decan, and you can see that the Dreamer Prince is challenged by the energy, the noise, if you will, of the air, the sounds that surround them. I love how this bird is crossing the third eye. We'll see how that plays into this as well. The Dancer Queen in this deck, I find very inspirational. It's as if she is able to commute, transform the dark energy into light energy. She has this gift of being able to see us through our darkest days. And in the Tarot of Saint Croix, think about this energy of the waterfall, the intensity, even the noise that surrounds the waterfall as this cleansing energy. And I love here this dark energy, dark waters, dark air on the outside, and then in the center, close to her, you can see that the pain, the toxicity, the worry, the illness is all being transformed through the energy of the Dancer Queen. And notice how her hands are held at the heart space. This beautiful place of Tiferet, this beautiful place where we have a moment perhaps, maybe a day, maybe a week to heal, to be nurtured, to let go. And letting go is an important part of the processing of the Ten of Swords. You can see here that in Lisa's card, we move from the waning side of the new moon to the waxing energy of the new moon. And with not just an acceptance, but an understanding that the moon is always changing. The phases of the moon are always changing. And if we embrace this energy, if we are to embrace the cycles of life, that this is indeed a part of the process of our days, our weeks, and our months, learning to release, learning to embrace change is no easy thing. But the promise of the growth, the promise of building energy is there for us every single month. The Tarot of the She Dreamer 10, or 10 of Swords, has been a favorite 10 of Swords for a long time. There are so many important details in this card. Perhaps the most important is the piercing or the cleansing of the third eye chakra. And we can see here the sun of the decan in the background. A sword is piercing the frontal point of the third eye, and all that no longer serves us is pouring out, pouring forth. We are truly letting go. This is a card of cleansing. And I think this weaves together so beautifully with the key word on the Dancer Queen, gift of truth. If we are to begin the process of purification of the third eye, if we dedicate some energy to stimulating and beginning the process of awakening Agnya chakra, the third eye chakra, then all that we move through, all of the challenges that we experience will be perceived from a clearer perspective. We will have a greater chance of knowing the truth, and it is only through a clear and stimulated third eye chakra that the journey of the more challenging chakras becomes navigable. In the Sun card, ruler of the decan, perhaps we see the promise of this cleansing, the promise of this clearing, that we will know the peace, the beauty, the tranquility, the joy of Avalon. Throughout the season of Gemini, we've been asked to focus on the intangible, focus on our relationship with energy. The 8, 9, and 10 of Swords can feel quite elusive, and yet the promise of the Decan rulers is one of great change and awakening. And to look at the Decan rulers is perhaps to understand the higher function of what the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords are trying to teach us. Energy. The energy of the Lover's card is a dance with our divine masculine and divine feminine selves. An invitation to expand, to let go of pretenses, to find peace with both, to learn to let go of the aspect of self that wants to control, that wants to be in charge, that can act like a spoiled little child. And you may have heard me speak to this in the past, and the pre-meditation yogic practices that help us to be ready for longer meditative experiences are about stilling the mind and knowing what to do with the number of thoughts that never seem to stop chatting. Both the senses and the thoughts play a part in this. And part of the process here is to create space between the thoughts, to learn to still the senses so that both the senses and the thoughts are not acting like naughty little attention seeking children. We need to learn how to put a thought to the side and just breathe and just be. And I think often when we're looking at these cards, we forget about the connection to breath and stillness and calming. There's a great deal of agitation through the Ladder Swords cards. And I think that you can see in both of these cards that the Knight of Air and the Queen of Cups have been supporting us underneath all of this to help us move through this challenging energy. There's a powerful energy in the Ten of Swords in Le Tarot or Amour étrange. It feels as if this energetic force has blasted the petals from the rose, perhaps even severed the stem from the vine. It's interesting that the thorns are still attached to the stem. And so I ask you in this Ten of Swords decan, what energy are you ready to commute, transform? If there is one thing that you could release in this moment, release over the next 6 or 7 days, what would that be? What is that? And how can you put an intention of that release into this new moon in Gemini so that you can truly know a greater lightness of being? Let me know what freedom you are ready to embrace. Blessings to you all. Namaste.